I did the research of what postpartum was like. I talked to my sister. She had two babies, my friends, and I still was not informed enough about, the pain, the engorgement from your milk coming in, that feeling, what it was like. And those first couple days were hard for me. I remember when we were leaving the hospital, I just got in the car and I started bawling my eyes out because I was so scared to go home with this baby. And my son was so good.
Wow.
He didn't cry. He was such a chill little baby. And I was terrified to take him home and have to care for him. And that was like a really, really heavy thing on my heart.
Welcome back to another episode. I'm Monica Verga Alborno, and this is the Wand Her Wild podcast, a space for modern mothers reclaiming their wild, living with intention, and redefining what it means to feel fulfilled while raising a family. Here we explore mindful motherhood, conscious parenting, feminine rhythms, and the power of self-discovery. Guided by curiosity, we share honest stories, soulful conversations, and actionable steps you can weave into your full everyday lives. Hi, Courtney, and thanks for being on the Wand Her Wild podcast. Welcome.
Thank you, Monica. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm so excited to have you and connect. Courtney, you're the founder of Lolo. For those who don't know, Lolo is creating postpartum care products that help new moms feel supported, seen, and just feel human again. I really just want to start with the heart behind this business. Can you tell us a little bit, what inspired you to create this business, and specifically just for those raw early days of motherhood that a lot of us experience for the first time?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I always say, you don't understand what it feels like to be a mom or to go through postpartum until you actually become one. And postpartum was a very eye-opening time for myself. And I think what I expected isn't how it actually went. And I think that that's very normal for many moms. And I just had a tough time feeling like myself in those first few weeks of postpartum. They're really tough. You're learning your new baby, you're learning your body, your emotions are crazy, your hormones are crazy. And it's just such a wild time. So at Lay Lolo, what we do is we take all of those stale and sterile postpartum products that moms have to use and make them beautiful. So they're not just functional, but they're beautiful. And my goal is for them to serve as a reminder to every single new mom of her beauty, her strength, and her worth in those, tough postpartum days as they can be. And, it started with my nipple shield. I used a nipple shield when I breastfed my son. I would always lose it. It was clear. It would go in the sheets, in the bed, under the bed, in the couch cushions. I could never find it. And I searched for a colored one, could never find a colored one. And I was like, oh my gosh, I need to make one. And I had him, I breastfed him. Then I had my daughter 2 years later, same thing, couldn't find my nipple shield. I was like, oh my gosh, I need to make one. And I finally decided to take action and do it. And while I was creating the nipple shield, I was like, okay, well, if I'm going to make it colored and I'm going to redesign it, I might as well make it a pretty shape also. So I decided to make it into a beautiful flower shape. And that's when it kind of sparked my idea of wow, wait a second. All of these products that we use as new mothers are so clinical. You feel like a patient. You don't feel like the amazing woman who just gave birth and created life. You almost feel kind of sick because they're so ugly and they're so stale and sterile. And it was kind of then where I was like, I can make all of these beautiful. All we have to do is keep the function and just change the aesthetic a little bit and make them more pretty. And that's what sparked my idea for Lay Lolo.
Oh my gosh. And I was so drawn to you and your brand for that reason. You're making things so beautiful. And if you're listening to this, go check out the brand because the branding is beautiful. The colors, the design, you can tell you put a lot of thought and intention behind it. And I can relate to it because, I host retreats, and a big part of the retreats for moms and kids coming is the beauty. And sometimes people are like, well, why? Why do you have to make it look aesthetically beautiful? Why do we have to do these luxury brunches and these tablescapes? And I'm like, because moms never get that. Once you step into the world of kids, it's like everything just looks messy, clinical, nothing looks pretty and beautiful anymore aesthetically, and it's like, why not? Why can't we still have that? Because we're so drawn to it as women, and we have that eye and attention. So I love, love, love your mission, and that's a big piece of it.
Thank you. Yeah. There are studies out there that say when you look at a beautiful thing or you look at beautiful landscape or a beautiful image or when your house is clean or you get up and you do your makeup, you feel a little bit better. And those endorphins will run through you and they make you feel better. So even if it's a, beautiful nursing pad that you're going to throw away, when you see it and you put it on and you're using it, it's just that little piece inside you, inside your head that that makes you feel better. So it's the little things. And especially with new babies and the care and, the long days and the long nights that it takes, a little piece can go a long way and really help a new mom. So that's our
Yeah,
mission.
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I get that. So you touched a little bit on your postpartum experiences, but could you maybe share a little bit about just like what was postpartum recovery like for you? And in those moments, was there like a specific moment that you can pinpoint where you thought of this business idea and you were like, I need to do this? Like, I'm so just, there's something in me that I can't explain, but I need to help with this in the world and put it out there.
Yeah, yeah. Postpartum was tough, especially for my first one. I think when you have your second, you kind of understand a little bit more and can and know what to expect. But I did the research of what postpartum was like. I talked to my sister, she had two babies, my friends, and I still was not informed enough about the pain, the engorgement from your milk coming in, that feeling, what it was like. And those first couple days were hard for me. I remember when we were leaving the hospital, I just got in the car and I started bawling my eyes out because I was so scared to go home with this baby. And my son was so good. He didn't cry. He was such a chill little baby. And I was terrified to take him home and have to care for him. And that was like a really, really heavy thing on my heart. And I'm so thankful, I had my husband who could help me and support me. But I can imagine, every new mom, you've never done this before and you just are walking out of the hospital with this new baby and expected to take care of them. It's so wild. And then having to figure out what to do, how to care for yourself, how to get the baby to sleep, how you're supposed to feed, how you're supposed to, navigate life with this baby. You now have to take it everywhere with you. It's just a lot of emotions for a mom to go through. And, it's just so crazy. It's crazy, but it's beautiful all at the same time, because you're really changing. After you have a baby, you're literally never the same person again. But yeah, so postpartum for my first, it was tough. And I think for my second, it was tough too, but for different reasons. The first one is more of like the physical piece. The second was the emotional piece of like, oh gosh, how am I going to give my son attention now that my daughter's here? And it's that like dynamic of how are we going to fit a new baby into a life with a toddler and make sure that I'm giving him enough time and my husband enough time and the baby enough time. And it's just really from a more mental point, I think my second postpartum journey was tough. But yeah, so, now that I look back on it, it feels so long ago. But my heart still feels for all of the new moms entering into postpartum because it is such a raw and vulnerable time in your life, but also such a beautiful one also. But yeah, I don't know exactly when I came up with this business idea. I just remember saying to my husband like, oh my gosh, like where are the colored nipple shields? And I remember actually texting my sister and saying like, would you buy a colored nipple shield? Why aren't there colored nipple shields? And she was like, yeah, I don't know, why aren't there colored nipple shields? And I was like, I don't know, let's make one. And she didn't help me make it, but she gave me the idea of like, okay, maybe I'm not the only person who needs this thing in my life. Like if it's not just for me, then there's somebody else who needs it as well.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Just, I mean, like, the fact that you identified that and brought it to life is so cool. And I still, when you were just the imagery of like getting in the car from the hospital and that overwhelming feeling of taking your baby home for the first time and being like, I'm now responsible for this life. Like, everybody at the hospital who was there is not there at home, and it's just me and the husband now, and, like, it's a lot of pressure, and there's so many emotions, there's so many things you're like, "Oh, this is all so incredible, but also so scary," and just, like, little business like and your business is incredible, I don't wanna say it's little at all, but, like, these gestures of just identifying something it just makes a huge impact, and, like, I just wanted to say that because it's yes,
Thank
I
you.
just had that visual as well going back to the hospital, and it's just there's so much, and just things like this, women like you are it's so cool to have that. So thank
Thank
you
you,
for what
thank
you're
you.
doing.
Yeah, it is. It's so crazy, and as I've built Lolo, it's become more. At first it was just a nipple shield and selling a product, but now it's not about the product. It's about the mission of reminding moms of their beauty and their strength, and being a support system to them in
Absolutely.
those first, few months in postpartum. It's a lot. It's a lot, and if there's anyone who deserves something pretty, it's a new mom. And I always say, like, we are not a baby company. We're not a breastfeeding company. We're just a company to inspire moms and to remind them how worthy they are.
Yeah. Yeah, and unfortunately, we're very neglected when we give birth. Like, there's a lot of
We
attention
are.
on us during pregnancy, and then it switches to the baby. The baby shower is all about the baby, and we love the baby so much, but, mama takes a backseat. So any of these gestures that can be given, these intentional things that can be given to moms during those early first weeks and months is just such a gift and so needed. I do want to pivot a little bit and talk about so before you founded Lay Lolo, you had a corporate career. You had a pretty successful corporate career, very, very different from Lay Lolo. And so this was a big pivot for you. I know you've publicly talked about your husband being really supportive with you starting this business. And I'm kind of curious for those listening, like, because I can relate to this as well. Like, when you have a big shift in your identity and you want to try something new, go after something new, could you give some maybe advice of how you navigated those conversations? Like, how you kind of both talk through that, and anything you want to share with tips or advice on navigating that as a partnership and really communicating that when you want to make a change, make an identity shift that is so big in your life.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it was very scary. And I think I was more scared for myself and doing something new that felt uncomfortable than anything. And it was really my husband who pushed me to do it. And I don't really remember like how the conversation went, but clearly I was throwing out ideas around Lay Lolo and what I wanted it to be. And I think I always like worked in corporate, like you said. I worked for Target, I worked for Amazon. But when I became a mom, it became more of like, that doesn't fit me anymore. Like, I'm just going to work, and I'm not going to work to be passionate anymore. And if I'm going to spend my time somewhere, I really wanted to make sure that I was passionate about it. And I'm very, very grateful that I have a husband who has a great job, who can support our family and allow me to live my dreams. And I know that's not the case for any. So I'm very grateful for that. But, it was really him who was like, if you don't do this, you're always going to remember what if. You're always going to wonder what if. And it was that push from him that really made me want to follow through, because he's so right. Like, I was scaring myself into believing that I couldn't do it, or saying, there's no one who's going to want this. It's just a silly idea. And I was trying to talk myself out of it. And he was like, what are you doing? Like, why are you, don't downplay how you're feeling because you're scared. Like, use this as momentum to push forward and show yourself that you can. And I'm very, very lucky that, I have the support from him. And literally without him, there would not be Lay Lolo, like 1000%. And I think about past relationships that I was in that I would never, ever, ever have the support from anyone else like I have from him. So I'm so grateful for that, and that he allows me to follow my dreams and push me to succeed. It's incredible.
That's so awesome. That sounds like such a good partnership. And I can relate. I can definitely relate to those big identity shifts and those conversations. And yeah, and it's true. Not everyone has the ability to just leave their job and fully rely on their partner. In my case, I couldn't do that. Like, I was supporting equally or even a little bit more than equally in our home. So I had to wait a couple years to save up money and take that leap. And I know for some people, they might even be a single parent and it could be really difficult. But it's just when yeah, when you feel so passionate about it and you feel like you said, when you become a mom, there's something in you that's like, "My time is now really important how I spend it." Like, you don't wanna waste it. If you don't feel good about the thing you're doing anymore and you feel like you're meant to do something else, it really kicks into overdrive in motherhood. I've heard this from so many moms who end up in entrepreneurial space, and it is really cool that we kind of like all of a sudden it's like, yeah, we don't have a lot of time, so the time we have, we wanna make sure we're using it the way that really feels good to us.
Yeah, absolutely. Some advice that I would give is if you have a dream and you want to, you like, you know that there's something you want to pursue, but you feel like it might be a couple years or you might need to set yourself up financially. I mean, we did this too, right? Like, yes, my husband has a good job, but for while building it, I went back to work for a full year and we saved every single penny to launch the company. You know, he makes great money, but not enough to fund Lolo and our household. Create the goal and then work backwards for your timeline. So, how much longer do you have to go to work? And then as you're working, start setting up the business. And then once you feel like you're in a financial spot and you've saved enough money, then you can quit your job and put, your whole heart and soul into that business piece. But it takes time and it takes planning to, get to the finish line and to be where you want. You got to create the goal and really take the first step because it's easy to make excuses and not take that first step, but just do it because once you kind of have your foot in the door and you take that step, it's just you gain that momentum and you keep wanting to build off of that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, and you gotta want it because it's hard to work all day, those 8-hour
Yes.
days or more than 8-hour days, take care of your kids, put them to bed, and then work on your passion, your entrepreneurial
It's so
adventure
hard.
in those late hours of the night, right? Which I think we can both relate
Yes.
to.
Yeah.
But setting realistic goals, I love that because yeah, I gave myself 5 years and I didn't make it 5 years. I just couldn't. I felt so uncomfortable going into the office. It just felt so unaligned that I left. It was, I think, right around 4 years of being starting my business. But yeah, I love that advice of setting goals, like just making it just starting somewhere.
Yeah.
And even if it's just starting with a little bit and then growing over time and giving yourself that grace period to grow.
Absolutely. I mean, I continue to learn and grow every single day. Like there's always something more to learn. So the first step is literally the most important one. And believing in yourself that you can. You got to believe
Yeah.
you got to believe like listen to mindset things that help remind you of your confidence and how you deserve this. If you want this, then you deserve it and you can do it.
Absolutely. Okay, so that's actually what I wanna ask you about.
Okay.
Imposter syndrome. You
Yes.
seem so confident in your vision, your mission, everything that you're doing. I've seen you talk about your founder, like, your background of everything you've been doing with production and distribution, and that's not your background, right? So you've learned so much in the past year since Lay Lolo started.
Yeah.
I'm just curious to know, like, do you ever get imposter syndrome? Does that kinda come up for you? Like, ever like,
Oh my
"What how am
gosh.
I doing this?" Like, I'm just wondering, how do you
Every
work through that?
day.
Yeah?
Every day. 1000%. Yes. And, I think I can do a good job at speaking confidently, but really, I am just winging it over here. I am figuring it out. I'm putting myself in rooms to learn. I am trying to partner and connect with others who know more about the business and who can teach me. And it's hard when you're right. I don't have the background. My background is in retail and HR and I have nothing. People say, "Oh, well, you worked for Target. Like you must have an in at Target." No, I don't. I worked on the retail side of Target. I ran Target stores. I didn't have anything that those are two separate businesses within Target is the buying side, which is corporate, and the retail side, which runs the stores. It's nothing is connected or aligned. So I don't know anything. And it's imposter syndrome is real. It is so real. And I'm always looking at others and saying, gosh, look how far they've come. Look at what they've done. Look at what they're doing. Why can't I do that? And I always say, like, if I just knew what I was doing, I would do it, but I don't. So I'm just figuring it out. But, I journal a lot. I feel like that is like a brain dump for me and helps reconnect with myself. I also swear by, there's this app called Activations, and they're basically like mindset talks that talk to you and remind you. There's tons of different topics to remind you just of your strength and your worth, and helps you gain clarity. Like, I'm obsessed with them. I listen to them every day. And I think you just have to find that thing that kind of brings you back to yourself and helps you remind you of who you are and why you're doing what you're doing. And there's so many days that I want to give up. I tell my husband all the time, oh my gosh, this is so hard. Like, I want to be done with it. But I also know that if I stop now, I'm not going to be fulfilled. So, and it's not worth it, right? Like, I started this for a reason. I'm going to continue to go. There's hard days, but there's also really amazing days too. And you just have to focus on the amazing ones.
Yeah, yeah, I love that advice. And there's a quote that's popping up in my head as you're speaking. And it's something that I always revert back to when like these little creeping thoughts come in. It's if not you, then who? If not you, then who? Because I always think like, well, if it's not us doing this, who would it be? No one would do it exactly the way that we've creatively been drawn to do. So that always just kind of like roots it back in. If it's not you, someone else is gonna do it,
Yeah,
and why
absolutely.
not you? Why can't you do it?
Yeah. Yeah. 1000%. I love that.
So, I wanna ask some rapid fire questions if you're ready.
Yes. Hit me.
Alright, so first question is, what is your favorite postpartum comfort product besides your own?
Okay. When you mean comfort product, like,
Like, anything that makes you feel cozy and warm postpartum or just makes you feel more yourself.
got it. Okay. I feel like a good blanket is a great postpartum product. Um, Also, really nice pajamas are great postpartum products. For my own, like, obviously, and it's not really a comfort product, but obviously the one I love the most was my nipple shield. I literally couldn't, it saved me during breastfeeding. But yeah, for comfort, like a nice blanket, I would say, or like nice PJs.
I love that. Okay, and this is not necessarily a rapid fire question, but you're talking about your products as well. And I saw you put together a box to ship out as a postpartum package on TikTok. And I was like, I need to get that for my sister because she's expecting in a couple months. Could you kind of tell us what's in that? Because it's more of like a holistic box that a mom can receive.
Yeah, so we have a few different sets, but our big set is our ultimate set, and it has every single accessory that we carry on our website. And it's literally anything that you would need for breastfeeding, but it's not just breastfeeding products. There's some really sweet products in there that you can use outside of breastfeeding. So, first of all, it comes in a linen keepsake box. And on the front, it says, "Hey, baby." So you can take all the products out, and then you can use the keepsake box to keep all of your little keepsakes for the baby in. And on the front, and when you open it, it says like, "These memories belong to," and you can write the baby's name in. It's really pretty and it's linen. And then, you can give it to the baby when they're like 18. We also have like a really beautiful journal that's half journal prompts for mom and then half baby tracker, which is really sweet for mom. We have a beautiful vegan leather mama bag that comes in there. And then, all your breastfeeding needs: disposable nursing pads, lactation massager, lactation roller, reusable nursing pads, Bond Balm, which is like our take on nipple cream, but you can also use it for the baby. Oh my gosh, what else is in there? There's 17 accessories in the box. So I can never remember all of them. Hydrogel pads, a water bottle. There's tons of things.
So
But it's
amazing.
like
I love it.
literally the perfect gift for a
Love, love,
postpartum mom.
love. Okay, love it. Needs to be on every registry.
Yes, it does. I
Okay.
agree.
Is there any podcasts, book or resource that you are listening to right now or reading? Anything that you want to share?
Yeah, so I love the Mama Making podcast. The host name is Jessica. She is all about entrepreneurial moms, just connecting with moms. She's amazing. I love her energy and I love listening to her pod. She's probably my favorite like mama podcast right now. I also listen to a lot of business podcasts, which are super boring. You mentioned Entreprenista, which is always a good one. They have amazing tidbits and they connect. They do a lot of connections with like big founders of companies, women founders, which are amazing. I love listening to those. So yeah, those are probably like my top two that I during summer it's tough because I'm with the kids a lot, but that I try and stay on top of in the summertime.
All right. So, is there one thing you wish every new mom could hear in those first few weeks of postpartum?
Yes. I think that the biggest thing a new mom could hear is it feels hard and it feels overwhelming, but it will not last for long. And it really only takes a week, maybe a week to really like get into the groove and rhythm of things. It feels so overwhelming in those first few days, but after a couple of days, you're like, okay, I kind of got this. Like, I think I could do this. And your confidence kind of builds. But the postpartum phase, it feels so long when you're in it. But once you can look past it, um, it's kind of the beautiful to look back on. It feels so tough in the moment. But when you kind of come out of that, you realize like, wow, I did it. And just remember that you can do it and it's shorter than you think.
Yeah, love that. All right. And then, is there a small act of self care or wellness that makes a big difference for you?
Yes. I talked about listening to my activation affirmations every morning, and I think that's huge. I love journaling, but even if you feel like you don't have that time, just like stepping away when you're feeling overwhelmed or setting your alarm. I love setting my alarm on my watch and just going into another room and taking 5 deep breaths or like a minute to myself just to kind of like ground myself is feels so good when you're feeling overwhelmed. So set your alarm. It will make a huge difference.
Amazing. Okay. And then, if a mom listening has a creative idea or passion that she's putting off, what's one piece of encouragement for her to start?
Yes, take the first step. I know it feels so scary and it can probably feel overwhelming or you don't know where to start, but just remember that you can do it. And if you have this dream and you feel passionate about it, then it deserves to be known by the world. So take the first step, do your research, email me. I would love to hear your idea and see how I can help you. I think as moms and as entrepreneurs, we have to stick together and help one another out. So, but the biggest thing is you can do it and don't be scared.
All right. So, if people listening want to hear more about Lolo, if they want to order anything or find you on social media, connect with you more, how can they do that?
So our website is www.wearelelolo.com. That's WEARE, Lelolo, LELOLO.com. And then we're on Instagram and a little bit on TikTok. We need to work on our TikTok skills, but we're at We Are Lelolo. We would love, 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 love for you to connect with us.
So good. All right, Courtney. So you have an incredible product, incredible vision, mission. Love it so much. Thank you for coming on and sharing about your story. And I'm excited for our community and our listeners to go check it out and connect with you more. Thanks for
Thanks,
being
Monica.
here.
Thank you so much for having me. It was so lovely to chat with you today.